Good evening, Canterbury. I'm Mike Yardley. Welcome to NewsMakers, where we debate the week's issues through Canterbury eyes. It's a pleasure to introduce our panel from Durning PR, John Durning, and City Councillors Jamie Gough and Jana Johansson. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Roger.
It's not often we talk about poppy production, unless we're talking about Afghanistan, but the RSA's national brass has certainly upset the apple cart rather spectacularly with this decision to essentially outsource our poppies, courtesy of Australia and China. What's your gut reaction to this decision? John?
On the outside, you'd have to say outrageous. Without actually knowing the details, sort of why are they doing this? Is it a cost factor? Is it a production time factor? But to look at it, you think, why are they doing it?
The RSA brass are adamant that they'll save $150,000, but I suppose that's predicated on New Zealanders continuing to buy these new overseas poppies in the same number as we have in the past. What do you think, Jamie?
No, I don't like it, Mike. I think it stinks. Realistically, it's not always about the price, it's about the value. And I don't think people are buying, shelling out a few cents or $1 or so because they think that the poppy is necessarily worth $1 or so. I think that people would be quite happy to pay $4 for the poppy because it's the cause. I would be quite prepared to put $4 in there for a poppy that was made in New Zealand. So I don't like it one bit. I think they should keep it here.
Yanni?
I agree with Jamie. I'd rather pay $5 and get one that was made in New Zealand. I won't pay 10, but I think, I'd like to support the RSA. I think it's a worthwhile contribution, but certainly if the poppies are going to be made in China, I'll be digging my one up from last year that was made in New Zealand, hopefully made in Christchurch, and wearing it because I just don't agree that it's a good look, and I don't think it's the sort of thing that people want.
How would a PR meister like yourself manage what seems to be an ensuing media fuss over this issue for the RSA? I mean, should a poppy be seen like any other commodity in the free market when it comes to fundraising?
I'd reverse the decision.
Yeah? Quick,
and
smart.
Exactly. Because not only is it the whole poppy, it's actually the people who are in charge of putting it together. Now, that's about a quarter of their business. And that's a big, for the workshops that do it, that's massive. So it's the poppies, it's the people that are doing it, it's just the whole sentiment. Like, the poppy is such a sort of valued, treasured part of the New Zealand society, and to have it, next thing we'll have pavlovas made in China.
Yes, God forbid.
Exactly.
Yes. They've probably already got the recipe. All right, what's your forecast? Will the RSA be forced to change their decision?
If they're value focused, then they will. If they're bottom line focused, then they won't.
What do you reckon?
I would hope that they would reconsider their decision. I hope that it's not about the economic reality. I hope it's about more than that, and as Jamie said, about the value and the symbolism that the poppy gives to our country and to our city. Because I don't think Anzac Day should be commodified into economic terms. Actually, it's about a lot more than that. And so I hope they reconsider. But let's just see what happens. All
right. Well, it's a fortnight out from Christmas, and if I asked you where are you going to take most of your shopping dollars, chances are you probably would not say the CBD. But if there was a mall, a new shiny mall in the central city, would that woo you away from suburbia? Does the mountain need to come to Muhammad? Jamie?
Look, Paul Lonsdale's perspective piece, I think, in the press makes some very valid points. A mall in the central city would help. You've got to understand, and I think everyone knows this, that there are some positives with malls, that it's clean, it's safe, you've got consistent shopping hours, you've got everything you want under one roof, it's accessible, and you live very close to them in most cases. So these sorts of things, the positives that would be brought to the central city from such a development would be great, but I think you're also missing the people sort of side of it. So I think that it was almost a tongue-in-cheek piece in the sense, because it's not that developers don't realise that there's a wee space in the heart of town, which is the central city, that they've just forgotten about. Let's put it really simply. If you're a developer, you're going to make more money doing a development on the outskirts of town than you are in the inner city, and that is fundamentally what we need to change. A mall will help with that. More people in there will certainly help with that. Better accessibility, all these things. It's not a one silver bullet that will remedy it, but they're steps in the right direction. I think once we get the crux of it sorted, the viability issue, then you'll start seeing some quality development in there and people brought back in there. But I think that's where we need to start.
Some Lisa writers to the press this week have said the CBD's dead and we've just got to face that. Are you that fatalist?
It's not dead, but it's not living very well. Like the CBD, it's been going downhill for 30 years. So to actually improve it, it's not going to take 30 years to pick it up, but it's a long-term process and a many-faceted process. Putting let's put a shopping mall in the CBD, it's one thing. We've got to improve the transport, improve the parking, improve the way people can flow through the CBD. It's such a difficult place to get through. So it needs a lot of work. It needs to be a reason for people to come in here. At the moment, there's not a lot of reasons.
There does seem to be a bit of a sub-debate underway as to, is it the lure of quality shops, or is it not about shopping at all and about getting more people living in the CBD? Is that its best chance of rebounding?
Mike, I think it's a combination of both. I totally agree with John's comment. I mean, one of the problems has been that the overall traffic planning in the 4 Avs has been atrocious. We actually need to improve how the traffic connects from the suburbs to the central city, and that means things like the tram extension, which is going to cripple the bus services, which have been going downhill as well, all adds to that because it's going to create delays, traffic congestion, gridlock in the near future. The trams will, absolutely. A tram going across Manchester, Litchfield Street and High Street is going to create gridlock, and it's going to make it an even harder place for people to come into. Now, I think you're absolutely right. We need people living there. We need people living on the second floors and first floors, and people with shops on the ground floor. And the only way that a lot of shops are going to be able to survive is if they service that local residential population. So we actually need to get on and get it done. The earthquake gives us a huge challenge, but also a unique opportunity to do it. We need to do it quickly. I also agree with the comment that we're not going to change it overnight because if it's far too long, council has had a hands-off approach to city planning, which has meant that we've lost the retail into the suburbs. We're now losing the office space into the suburbs as well, and those are having a major impact on what's going on, and we must reverse that as soon as possible over the next 5 to 10 years so we can get people coming back. But we have to reverse it as soon as possible, but I will think it will take some time, 5 to 10 years, before we see it start to buzz.
He's absolutely right. Yarny is, and so is John. And I think your point about, is it the people, is it the quality of shops? I think they're very much interconnected, because I think you find that if you get 10,000, 30,000 people, whether they're living there, whether they're working there, walking outside the front of a premises, a poxy shop that's there that is just breaking even and they're not of a good quality, well, all of a sudden you'll find that knocking on that landlord's door is a fantastic international brand that wants to open up there and is that quality shop because they can't afford not to be there.
Yeah. I'm intrigued, by the way, you guys are based in Victoria Street, so kind of out of the hub, in what is, in many people's eyes, quite a separate, distinct shopping precinct now, isn't it, Victoria Street? Why are you located where you are?
I like Victoria Street because it's easy access.
Yeah.
There's lots of walking. If you want to just walk up to a coffee shop, it's easy to get to. You can quickly go into town. You can walk into town if you want, and if you're wanting to head home, then it's easy. It's ease. It's accessibility, I think, is both for us and for people coming to see us. Yeah. But I was just taking on sort of all the points that I said. I don't know why people would want to come and live in the centre of the city. That's my big argument at the moment, is to say, yes, we need to have 30,000 people in the centre of the city, but why?
And what we're doing isn't working. If you continue to do what you've always done, don't be surprised if you get what you've always gotten. Yeah. And you're absolutely right. And the thing is, chances are you'll find an apartment that's exactly the same with more amenities for a cheaper price further out.
Yes, with a sea view.
With a sea view.
We'll take a break. Plenty to come with our panellists, so do stay with us.